He said it like a joke, but everyone heard it. She's too big to present. The room laughed, except me. I smiled the way women smile when they're cornered. Polite, frozen, pretending it doesn't burn. The projector flickered. The slide behind him said, "Leadership through confidence." The irony almost made me choke. I spent years making his presentations perfect, writing his words, fixing his numbers, saving his reputation. But I wasn't the type to stand in front of the room. I was the shadow that made his light possible. Until the day the microphone stayed on. My voice, the one they never wanted to hear, finally filled the room. It wasn't polished. It wasn't polite. It was the truth. And when it echoed through the speakers, silence followed. For the first time, they all listened. For the first time, I didn't apologize for taking up space. If you've ever been silenced, if you've ever swallowed words just to survive, this story is for you. Subscribe and stay. Here, your voice matters. I was 10 when I first learned that silence could keep me safe. My mother was the kind of woman who measured worth in calories and smiles. My father believed that quiet girls grow into strong women. Between them, I learned how to disappear politely. My sister was the talker, the one who shined at every dinner, the one who could make my father laugh. I was the one who ate my peas quietly and watched her get seconds of praise. When I was 12, my aunt said, "You have such a pretty face. If only you'd lose a little weight." It wasn't cruel in her mind, just practical. But that sentence built a wall inside me that never stopped growing. Food became my secret language. When the world ignored me, food stayed. When boys laughed at me in gym class, when my mother sighed at my reflection in the mirror, when the girls at school passed around diet tips like holy scripture, I found comfort in the taste of things I didn't have to explain. A cookie didn't care if I took up too much space. Ice cream didn't roll its eyes when I tried to speak. And soon, eating became a form of revenge, a soft rebellion against every time someone called me sweet, but never smart. By the time I entered college, I was fluent in silence. I could nod through entire conversations without saying a word. I became the dependable one, the friend who listened, the colleague who worked twice as hard just to be seen half as much. My professors praised my writing, but never remembered my face. "You're unforgettable on paper," one of them said. I laughed, but it stung. When I got my first corporate job, I thought I'd finally escaped the rules of girlhood. I was wrong. The office was just another playground, only this time the bullies wore suits. The first time I gave an idea in a meeting, my boss repeated it 2 minutes later and got applause. The first time I laughed at one of his jokes, he said, "Careful, if you laugh too hard, you might burn some calories." The room laughed. I didn't. My skin burned, but my smile stayed. Because in that world, dignity was a luxury I couldn't afford. So I turned to the one thing that never rejected me: food. Late nights at my desk with vending machine snacks became a ritual. Chips, chocolate, soda, tiny moments of control in a place where everything else felt stolen. Each bite was a small apology to myself. "I'm sorry you're tired. I'm sorry no one noticed you. I'm sorry you had to be the one fixing their mistakes again." I convinced myself that I was okay because I was productive. That was the lie that kept me alive. The company loved me for it. "You're reliable," they said. "You're a machine." But machines don't cry in bathroom stalls. Machines don't flinch when the mirror by the elevator catches them off guard. Machines don't eat lunch at their desks because sitting in the cafeteria feels like a test they'll never pass. I watched the men around me get promoted, each one louder than the last. The louder they were, the more they were celebrated. The more space they took, the more they were rewarded. And me? I stayed quiet. I told myself I didn't want the spotlight, that I was better off in the shadows. But that wasn't strength. That was fear, dressed up as humility. The truth is, I was terrified of being seen, because being seen meant being judged, and I was already judged enough just by walking into a room, so I ate to feel invisible and worked to feel indispensable. That's how women like me survive. We become the structure that holds everything together while pretending we're part of the wallpaper. The irony is, I thought my silence protected me. I thought if I didn't make waves, if I didn't draw attention, I'd be safe. But silence doesn't protect you, it buries you. And the deeper I buried myself, the heavier I became. People like to say weight is a physical thing, but that's not true. Weight is memory. Weight is fear. Weight is every word I swallowed instead of saying out loud. And I carried it all, inside my body, inside my voice that trembled every time someone said my name in a meeting. I told myself that food was comfort, but really, it was translation. Every bite said what I couldn't. I'm tired. I'm lonely. I want to matter. It took me years to realize that what I was really hungry for wasn't food. It was permission. Permission to speak. Permission to exist without apology. Permission to be too much in a world that loved women small. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't live in your muscles but in your bones. The kind that sleep doesn't fix, because it comes from being unseen for too long. That was me. Every day I showed up early, stayed late, did the work nobody wanted. Every day I watched people who spoke half as well climb twice as fast. I learned how to swallow humiliation with coffee. I learned how to nod while my boss explained my own ideas to clients. I learned that women like me could be trusted with everything, except visibility. One morning, after 3 nights of little sleep, I found myself standing in front of the bathroom mirror at work. My reflection looked like a ghost wearing business casual. My lipstick had faded, mascara smudged under my eyes. For a second, I didn't recognize the woman staring back. I touched the glass as if to confirm she was real. "You're still here," I whispered, but even my voice sounded tired of me. The office became a stage I didn't audition for. Every meeting was another performance of restraint. When I did speak, my boss would cut me off with a smile that wasn't a smile, that practiced corporate grin that said, "Be quiet." He didn't have to say the words anymore. His glances were enough. The last time I offered to lead a presentation, he laughed. "You? Come on. You'd scare the client." The room laughed with him. I laughed too, because crying there would have been a death sentence. Afterward, I sat in a bathroom stall and bit my lip until it bled. I told myself I deserved it, that maybe he was right. Maybe someone like me shouldn't stand in front of others. Maybe I was built for background, for silence, for invisibility. The cruel thing about humiliation is that it doesn't kill you. It teaches you how to live smaller. I stopped wearing colors. I stopped eating lunch in public. I learned to move through hallways like a shadow. When colleagues joked about my dedication, they never realized that what kept me chained to my desk wasn't ambition. It was fear. Fear that if I stopped, even for a second, they'd see I didn't belong. My boss once called me into his office after hours. I thought for a moment that maybe he was going to thank me for my work. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, looked me up and down and said, "You're great at details, but not the face of the brand. You understand that, right?" I nodded. I always nodded. I walked out smiling, walked to my car and screamed until my throat burned. That was the night I realized my silence wasn't loyalty. It was captivity, but I still didn't know how to break it. So I did what I'd always done. I worked harder. I fixed more reports, covered more shifts, wrote more words that would come out of someone else's mouth. I became indispensable to everyone except myself. My body carried the evidence. My clothes grew tighter, my face rounder. Every pound felt like proof that I was losing control, but deep down, I knew it wasn't loss. It was translation. My body was saying everything I couldn't. I remember once walking past the conference room where a team photo was being taken. Someone joked, We should make sure everyone fits in the frame. It wasn't directed at me, but I felt it slice through the air anyway. I kept walking. Later, I cried in the parking lot, holding my car keys like a lifeline. The radio played some upbeat song about empowerment, and I laughed through the tears because I didn't feel powerful. I felt trapped inside a body, a life, a version of myself I didn't recognize. I was waiting for permission to exist, and no one was going to give it. The darkest part wasn't the ridicule or the stares. It was the quiet moments when I started to believe them. When I caught my reflection in the elevator mirror and thought, maybe I am too much. When I edited my own voice notes to sound lighter, friendlier, smaller. When I began to hate the sound of myself breathing. That's the thing about humiliation. It's not the moment they laugh. It's every moment afterward, when you hear their laughter echoing inside your own head. I lived in that echo for years. It shaped me more than love ever did. It became the rhythm of my days, the background noise of my existence. Until one day I realized something terrifying. I had become fluent in silence. And fluency can feel like belonging, until you realize you've built a home in your own erasure. The day everything began to change didn't feel special. It started like any other. Fluorescent lights, the hum of computers, the soft clatter of keyboards like an army of obedient ghosts. I wore the same navy blazer I'd worn 3 times that week. My reflection in the elevator caught me off guard again. Tired eyes, lipstick too faint, a loose strand of hair curling against my cheek. I adjusted it out of habit, not vanity. The meeting was scheduled for 10. It was one of those big ones, the kind that decided budgets and bonuses and whose names would appear in the next company email. I had built the entire presentation. Every graph, every line of data, every sentence was mine. But my boss would deliver it, like always. I would stand near the wall nodding along, a ghost behind the curtain. When I arrived, he smiled that same tight smile. "Thanks for getting this ready," he said. "Let me handle the talking, yeah?" I nodded, pretending it didn't sting, pretending that was all I wanted, to help. As he started speaking, I stood behind the projector, flipping slides when he gestured. My throat felt dry, my chest heavy with all the words I'd never said. Every joke he cracked, every smirk that followed, pressed against my ribs like invisible fingers. He laughed about keeping the visuals light, and a few people chuckled. I stared at the floor. My hand trembled. And then something small happened. Something ordinary that didn't feel like courage, but maybe was. He stepped out of the room to take a call, leaving the microphone pinned to his shirt. I don't know what took over me. Maybe exhaustion. Maybe rage disguised as clarity. I whispered to myself, "You didn't even write half of that right." A few people laughed softly. I froze. The sound came through the speakers. The mic was still on. For the first time, my voice filled the room. I wanted to disappear, but something in me refused. I looked at them, all those faces that had never really looked at me, and said, "You know what's funny? I wrote that entire presentation. I wrote the last 5. I stay late while he goes home early. I clean up his mistakes and watch him get credit. And you all pretend not to notice. You laugh at his jokes. You praise his confidence. But if confidence means stealing other people's work, then maybe I've been doing this job wrong." My voice shook, but didn't stop. No one moved. No one laughed. The air itself felt heavy with truth. I turned off the projector, unplugged my laptop, and walked out. My heart pounded so hard it drowned out the sound of my own footsteps. In the hallway, I thought I'd destroyed everything. My career, my reputation, the fragile balance that had kept me safe. I sat in my car staring at the steering wheel, waiting for the shame to come, but it didn't. For the first time in years, I felt something else. Quiet, but not silence. It was peace, real peace, and it was terrifying. That night, I expected an email firing me. It didn't come. Instead, I got a message from a colleague. Someone recorded it. It's everywhere. I opened the link and saw my own face on the screen, pale, tired, trembling, but my voice strong and clear. The video had been uploaded to social media. The caption read, "When the assistant finally speaks." Thousands of comments poured in. She said what we all feel. Finally, someone called them out. That's the courage I needed today. My heart raced. My hands shook. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. All I knew was that my silence had finally broken, and it made noise loud enough for the world to hear. When a video of you goes viral, people assume it changes everything overnight. They think it's fireworks and applause, instant redemption wrapped in validation. But the truth is quieter, stranger. It doesn't start with celebration. It starts with fear. The morning after the video exploded, I woke up to hundreds of messages. My phone buzzed until the battery died. There were interviews I hadn't agreed to, articles with my name spelled wrong, and strangers calling me brave. Brave. The same word people use when they don't know what else to say. My stomach twisted. I wasn't brave. I had just been tired enough to stop pretending. When I arrived at work, the building felt different. Conversations paused when I entered. The same people who used to look through me now avoided my eyes. My boss wasn't there. HR called me instead. They used the word incident like it was a stain. They said the company was reviewing the situation. I nodded, pretending I didn't already know what that meant. By noon, I had cleared my desk. No one stopped me. A few sent polite messages later, safe ones with words like admirable and inspiring. But admiration doesn't pay rent. Inspiration doesn't cover health insurance. The first few weeks were chaos. The world moved on faster than I could process what had happened. One day, I was an invisible assistant. The next, I was a headline. The next, just another forgotten clip in someone's feed. But the silence that followed wasn't the same as before. It wasn't heavy anymore. It was open, like a blank page. People began reaching out, not reporters, but women. Dozens of them. Secretaries, analysts, teachers, nurses. They said they'd watched the video in their offices, in their cars, in bathrooms where they were hiding from bosses just like mine. They said my voice had made them cry or laugh or finally send that email they'd been afraid to write. I didn't know how to respond. What do you say when the world finally hears you, but you've spent your entire life not knowing how to talk? I started small. I wrote back. I thanked them. I listened. And little by little, listening stopped being something I did to survive. It became something I did to connect. One woman asked me to speak at a small event for her company's Diversity Week. The irony almost made me laugh. Me, the woman who was too big to present, now invited to hold a microphone. I almost said no, but something inside me whispered, "You've already lost everything that wasn't real." So I said yes. The night before the event, I stood in front of my bathroom mirror rehearsing. My reflection still startled me. The same round cheeks, the same body the world loved to judge. But now there was something new in my eyes. A kind of calm, a refusal. When I arrived at the venue, my hands shook as I clipped the microphone to my jacket. The sound tech smiled. "You good?" he asked. I wasn't, but I nodded anyway. When the lights dimmed and the room quieted, I took a deep breath and began to speak. Not like a victim, not like a hero, just as a woman who finally knew how to use her own voice. I told them about invisibility, about silence, about the way humiliation carves holes inside you that only truth can fill. I told them that courage doesn't feel like confidence. It feels like exhaustion that refuses to quit. And when I finished, no one clapped right away. They just sat there, breathing with me, letting the silence mean something different this time. Then the applause came. Slow, rising, unstoppable. I cried, right there on stage, because it wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about him or the company. It was about me finally being heard. After that, more invitations came. Podcasts, panels, companies wanting me to talk about respect, equality, leadership. The irony never stopped being delicious. I began freelancing, then consulting. It wasn't fame. It was freedom. I had built something out of nothing, not a career, but a voice with walls and a door I could open whenever I wanted. A voice that belonged to me. And this time, no one could mute it. The strangest part of becoming visible is realizing how many people were watching all along. For years, I thought no one noticed me. Now, every time I opened my inbox, I found proof that they had. Women wrote from cities I'd never been to, from offices that smelled just like mine used to, cold coffee, fluorescent lights, and swallowed dreams. They said they saw themselves in me. Some messages were short. Thank you for saying what I couldn't. Others were entire confessions, paragraphs full of years they'd lost to silence, to bosses who called them too emotional, too sensitive, or not the right fit. I read them all. Sometimes I cried. Sometimes I just sat there staring at the screen, letting the words sink into the places inside me that had been starving for connection. I started saving those messages, one by one, in a folder on my laptop called Proof I Exist. I didn't tell anyone about it. I just needed to see it, to remind myself that what happened that day in the conference room wasn't chaos. It was change, the kind that begins quietly and spreads like fire under the surface. Invitations kept coming, but not all of them were about work. Some were from women who wanted to start something together. A teacher from Ohio who had been pushed out of her job after gaining weight. A lawyer who was told her voice was too shrill for clients. A nurse who'd been laughed at in front of a patient. They weren't just stories, they were echoes. Each one sounded like mine. I realized that what we shared wasn't just anger, it was recognition. The world had called us difficult, dramatic, unprofessional. What we were, really, was tired. Tired of performing gratitude for scraps of respect. Tired of apologizing for existing in bodies that didn't fit the corporate frame. So we built something together. A space online, small at first, where women could speak without being corrected. We called it the Room Without Interruptions. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't polished, but it was real. Every week we met virtually, shared stories, shared laughter, shared silence that wasn't awkward, but healing. Some women just listened, some wrote poetry, some screamed. All of it mattered. And as the months passed, the folder on my laptop grew. I stopped calling it Proof I Exist and renamed it Proof We Do. Because that's what it became. Evidence that our voices, even when trembling, were powerful enough to shake something loose in the world. One evening, I got a message from a young intern who worked at my old company. She said they still used my video in orientation sessions as part of a leadership and empathy module. I stared at her message for a long time, laughing through tears. The same company that silenced me now used my voice to teach others how to listen. I didn't know whether to call it irony or justice, so I called it both. That was the night I finally forgave myself for staying quiet all those years. I realized the silence wasn't wasted. It was gathering weight, waiting for the moment it would finally drop and make an impact. The echo of my voice had reached places I would never walk into again, and that was enough. I didn't need to be in every room anymore. My voice was. That thought filled me with something I hadn't felt in years. Not confidence, not pride, but belonging. Not because someone else said I deserved it, but because I knew it now. Every echo was proof that my story wasn't just mine, it was ours. The girl who once believed she was too big to stand in front of a room now carried thousands of voices with her, and none of them asked her to be smaller. For a long time, I rehearsed the scene in my head. The one where he, the boss, calls me, voice shaky, full of regret. Maybe he says he was wrong. Maybe he thanks me for showing him what courage looks like. Maybe there's even an apology, the kind that sounds rehearsed but still counts because it exists. In the fantasy, I listen patiently, strong and gracious, the bigger person. I hang up and smile at the poetic symmetry of it all. That was the scene I thought I needed. Closure, validation, a ribbon tied neatly around the wreckage. But that scene never came. He never called. There was no apology, no sudden awakening on his part. He kept his job for a while, then quietly moved to another company, another office with new walls to echo his arrogance. I used to check his LinkedIn, looking for signs that karma had caught up. When I saw he'd been promoted, I closed the tab and cried. Not because I envied him, but because it felt like justice had forgotten my address. The world still rewarded men like him. It still praised confidence over integrity, noise over truth. I wanted a cinematic ending, the kind where the villain gets fired and the heroine walks out under slow-motion applause. But life doesn't work like that. Real justice doesn't announce itself. It grows quietly inside you until one day you realize you no longer need it from anyone else. I learned that the hard way. Months after the video, I was invited to speak at a leadership conference. It was in the same city where my old company's headquarters still stood. As the event approached, anxiety wrapped itself around me like a scarf I couldn't remove. I wondered if I'd see him there. I imagined walking past him in the lobby, imagined him lowering his gaze, imagined his silence as the only apology I would ever get. I almost didn't go. But then I remembered the women in my messages, the ones who said my voice helped them find theirs. I wasn't doing this for him. I was doing it for them. So I went. The conference hall was huge, a sea of faces and lights that blurred together until I stepped on stage. The microphone hummed, that same low vibration that used to terrify me. I looked down at my notes but didn't need them. My hands stopped trembling. My breathing steadied. I began. I talked about power, about silence, about the cost of being underestimated. I told them that what nearly broke me had also built me. The words came easily, like they'd been waiting for this moment all along. When I finished, people stood. The applause was long, but what stayed with me was the quiet that followed. Thick, reverent, alive. Later that evening, as I left the venue, I saw him. Not in the lobby, not on the stage, but outside, sitting alone at a cafe across the street. He didn't see me. He looked smaller somehow, not physically, but in presence. The man who once filled rooms with noise now looked like background static. For a moment, I thought about walking over, about saying something clever, something final, but I didn't. I just watched him lift his coffee, glance at his phone, live his ordinary life. And that's when I understood. The scene I'd been waiting for had already happened. It just didn't look the way I imagined. The closure wasn't a confrontation, it was indifference. The revenge wasn't his downfall, it was my peace. I walked away, my heels clicking softly against the pavement, the night air cool against my skin. No music swelled, no audience watched, but inside, something shifted. A door closing, another one opening. The next morning, I woke up lighter. Not because I'd won, but because I'd stopped playing. I no longer needed his acknowledgement to exist. The story I'd been waiting for him to finish, I had already rewritten. Sometimes healing is realizing you'll never get the apology you deserve, and still choosing to move forward anyway. That realization didn't come with fireworks. It came in small moments. When I laughed with friends without checking who was listening. When I stood in front of a mirror and didn't flinch. When I bought clothes because they felt good. not because they hid me. Those moments were the real ending, or maybe the beginning. The scene that never happened wasn't a loss. It was freedom disguised as disappointment. And freedom, I learned, doesn't need witnesses. It just needs truth. For years, I believed my body was the problem. Every comment, every joke, every silence had taught me that lesson well. I thought if I could just change it, if I could lose enough weight, tone enough skin, hide enough softness, then maybe the world would treat me gently. Maybe then I'd finally earn space that didn't have to be justified. But now, standing in front of the mirror on a quiet Sunday morning, I see it differently. This body didn't fail me. It carried me. Through every humiliation I smiled through, every night I worked late, every insult disguised as advice, every bite I ate in secret just to feel something that wasn't disappointment, it was this body that stayed. It didn't abandon me when I starved it of kindness. It didn't stop breathing when my will to be seen disappeared. It simply waited for me to remember that I didn't need to earn existence. My body was never the enemy. It was the witness, the archive of everything I survived, the soft arms that held me when no one else did, the stomach that tightened every time I bit back words I should have said, the throat that carried my voice the day it finally broke free. And yes, the same voice that echoed through that conference room, shaky but alive, reminding me that power doesn't have to look graceful to be real. Sometimes it's trembling. Sometimes it's tear-stained. Sometimes it's wrapped in flesh that the world doesn't deem professional. But it's power all the same. I used to think transformation was about becoming someone new. Now I know it's about returning to who you were before shame told you who to be. These days, my mornings are quieter. I drink coffee without guilt. I walk without rushing. I speak without rehearsing. I've learned that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it hums softly beneath your skin, like the steady rhythm of a heartbeat that refused to stop. When people tell me I've changed, I smile. They're wrong. I haven't changed. I've come home. The woman they see now isn't new. She's just no longer hiding. Sometimes I still catch myself shrinking in conversations out of habit. Sometimes I still feel the urge to apologize for taking too long, too much, too loud. But then I remember the sound of my voice through that microphone, the weight of it, the freedom of it. I remember how it silenced a room built to silence me, and I breathe deeper. My body still carries its stories, the stretch marks from years of punishment, the roundness that no diet could erase, the scars invisible to everyone but me. But I no longer see them as evidence of failure. They're proof of endurance, proof that even when I doubted myself, something inside me refused to vanish. I used to think survival was about holding everything together. Now I understand it's about letting go. Letting go of the need to be small. Letting go of the guilt that came from wanting more. Letting go of the version of myself that mistook silence for peace. The truth is, I am still learning how to take up space, how to sit at tables without shrinking, how to walk into rooms without apologizing. But every day I practice. Every day I remind myself that my body is not a project. It's a place, a home, the one that never stopped waiting for me to move back in. I still wear the same blazer sometimes, the one I used to hide behind in meetings, but now it fits differently. Not because my body changed, but because I did. The weight that mattered was never on my body, it was on my voice. And now that I've let it out, I finally feel light. So if you've ever been told you're too much, too loud, too big, too emotional, remember this. There is no two in being human. There's only you. Exactly as you are, already enough, already worthy. If this story found you, maybe it's because you needed to be reminded that your silence is not strength, it's a pause. And even pauses have power. Because when you finally decide to speak, the world won't know what to do with the sound. If you've ever felt silenced, if you've ever had to shrink just to survive, know this: You're not alone anymore. Write in the comments where you're watching from, and subscribe for more stories that deserve to be heard. Your voice matters here.